happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to my show where it really is okay to not be okay. I'm Rae Bonney, a qualified counsellor, workplace mental health specialist, and not to mention a very dedicated and oftentimes enthusiastically disruptive men's issues advocate. Not every girl's dream job, but hey, men also matter. I'm back on air after a month of swanning about in Spain and the UK, collecting more stories and experiences to share with my guests, especially about managing the unexpected changes and being immersed in very, very precious moments. We just heard from the beautiful Michelle Ciccardo with her fabulous Italian show, which I know is growing in ratings every single week. Bravo, Michelle. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Remember that my show airs live every second Sunday of the month between 10:30am until 12 noon. I meet with guests from all over the world, sharing what it feels like being them and also recognising that it really is okay to not be okay. Now, today we're diving headfirst into one of my favourite subjects and a least favourite topic for most, which ironically, in my experience, by addressing the issue more openly, could save many, many lives. Yes, we're talking about suicide. In the world, every minute of every day another man kills himself, and here in Australia, we account for at least 6 male deaths daily, with many, many more unrecognised and trying. Now, based on coronial reports, male suicide, surprisingly, is not often linked to a mental health challenge, but mostly to bereavement, relationship breakdown, child custody issues, unemployment, and associated legal financial issues. Addressing ignorance, stigma and stereotyping around these outcomes is tragically lacking, so we're incredibly grateful for the insatiable endeavours of people like Michael Gray Griffith in producing a much-needed heartfelt play called Suicide Row, which is now, to placate the politically correct, called Marooned, the play. It's inspired by the death of a creative artist, Guy May, and Michael has created a beautiful experience that illustrates a journey of 3 Australian men and 1 woman who find themselves stuck on the way of the afterlife after their individual suicide attempts have failed. So who is this Michael Gray Griffith? Who dares to colour outside all of these lines? I have him right here in the studio to tell us all about it. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you for having me here.
Welcome to the show again, and you have done some amazing work over the many years. But you started all the way being very unceremoniously dumped from year 10 at school.
Yeah, I was a bit of a provocateur even then. I just couldn't help myself. I didn't know it, though.
Were you writing stories in your head all the way back then?
I was writing stories down. I was always writing, yeah. But, the one thing that kept me sane, really, was writing.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Do you think that's part of the issue in education, is that, years ago, before the education institution was cemented, we relied on the creative arts to educate through storytelling, dance, writing, theatre, whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden, once this institution was created, all of a sudden they are messy, noisy, occupations that belong as extracurricular activities.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. I don't really know. It's... I've got to an age now where school is something I hardly ever think about. It's so long ago, it's like another life.
Well, you're self-teaching, aren't you?
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to show the world what you had in your little kit bag?
I reached about, it was probably about 35. And I didn't actually want to show the world what I was doing because I needed it to survive. Because it was my passion. And I really showed girlfriends and stuff like this. But then I wrote this story called The Graffiti of Mr. Quinetta. And something compelled me to enter it into a competition, a national competition. And lo and behold, I won it.
Wow.
And I was quite stunned.
What was that competition?
As the My Brother Jack.
Yes.
And
as in Jack Thompson, My Brother Jack?
No, there's a novel called My Brother Jack.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, he acted in the...
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And it just... Things started happening slowly from there. And it sort of gave me the confidence, like, oh, I do have a voice. Because when you leave school early, there's sort of a bit of a shame that you're an idiot and you do dead-end jobs that you're thinking, well, it can't be any good, you know? Otherwise, I wouldn't be here doing this job. So
now, one of those dead-end jobs actually inspired that piece of work.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, he was a man cleaning my primary school toilets.
Can you mention the primary school?
St. Bridget's, yeah, Midland. I don't even know it's there anymore.
Midland?
Yeah, in Perth.
Okay.
That's where that... And he finds a message from a little girl called saying she wants to die. And because
Where did he find that message?
In the toilets. He cleans the toilets.
So this is the graffiti piece then, yes.
And he doesn't know what to do because he doesn't... Because of his status, he doesn't really interact with the school, but he feels he can't wipe it off and he feels he can't tell anyone. And so he starts writing back to her through the wall. And he feels that he has to let her know that it's not him, that he's someone. And so he suggests that maybe he's God, to give her a chance that she's talking to God in the toilet wall.
Wow.
And then he tells her that she's an angel, and just to try to bring her up. And he doesn't know her at all. He just wants to cheer her up.
Yeah.
And the little girls turn the toilet into a shrine of wanting to be angels, asking him. They think they're talking to God in the toilet. And he gets found out by the people that run the school, and he's sacked for pedophile allegations. And he's tossed
What a
aside.
twist.
And people said, oh, you can't do that. You can't. I said, but that's what happens. The man was doing something beautiful. And people go, but he was doing something beautiful. I go, yes, you know that because you read the story. But if you heard it from the other way, you immediately think he's evil.
Yeah.
You don't give him any credence that maybe he's not evil.
I wonder if he was Mother Teresa, he would have been accoladed.
That's right. That's right.
That's a people can look that up on YouTube. It was recreated into a short film in New Zealand, and I think one of the actors from The Whale Rider.
Yeah, that's correct. They had a big actor in there. Yeah, the graffiti of Mr. Tupeya or something.
Yes.
So they made it into a film.
Search it up. After the show, this will be produced on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link to that for anyone that's interested in watching it, and you can accolade Michael Gray Griffith for his great work there. Now, but before we launch into the current project, which is Marooned, the play, I wanted to touch on some other stuff that you've done as well, because you've been known to become embroiled into some contentious issues such as breastfeeding rights and the rights for men and women to wear leggings in public.
Yeah, that was we were doing a comedy series for using mature people, 45 plus, and we were just having fun, and I like issues, and so we threw together this breastfeeding video. I wrote it on a Monday, we shot it on a Wednesday, and lo and behold, Thursday I was on the BBC World News, and they were playing it live, and we were like,
in celebration of what you'd produced, or
they just liked the video. It went viral.
What was it about? Because I couldn't find it anywhere.
What it was, it's about there's a guy eating alone in a restaurant. And then the Indian waiter comes up and says, I'm sorry, sir, but the women are uncomfortable with a man eating alone. So they ask if they can move him. And then he's sitting somewhere, you don't know where he is, and he looks uncomfortable. And then he's in the dunny. There's someone having a whiz. And then he asks for a tissue, and the waiter says, sure, how many you want? And he hands him a load of toilet rolls. And it's basically, if a woman's breastfeeding, she's asked to move. Yes. That was it. It was just a gag.
Yeah, yeah.
And we did it so quickly, and we thought, it's just another one, because we were doing a few.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, it went off.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was
raising a bit of awareness. And what about this leggings business? Because I think we all have thoughts about leggings.
Well, yeah, we just wrote I wrote a song for that. We thought we'd do another funny one. And it was called Tights Ain't Pants. And it was about the rights of men and women to wear leggings, especially women can wear them. Why can't men?
Yes.
It was just a funny comedy, and that happened the same thing. It just went a bit bizarre, and it went. Well, the funniest thing was, it went viral in Finland. So you see the Google map of where it's gone viral. It's a blank everywhere, but in Finland, 10,000 people watched it in one night.
Well, that says something about leggings in Finland, doesn't it? But I guess your greatest success so far, apart from Suicide Row / Marooned, is the Magnolia Tree.
Yes,
which was a sellout performance for you guys last year.
No, it was 2 years ago. It went crazy at La Mama. It's been on several times since. Victorian Regional Arts Victoria is touring it next
Yes.
year around Victoria.
Which really approaches another very contentious issue that is often stigmatised and very deeply buried in our communities and societies, which is about our aged population.
It is the age, but the actual play is more about mature age poverty amongst women, because in the play there's two women. The only asset they have is the family house, and the nursing home's going to get the lion's share of the house. And so the brother suggests, he's successful, that they let mum go tonight because she's profound Alzheimer's. And the girls have none of it, but he slowly convinces them round. And suddenly you have these three siblings talking about murdering their mother. And that was to just see if I could do it. And then one of the women leaves the stage to do it. When she leaves the stage to give mum this concoction that he's brought, then the audience votes on the ending. Does she do it or does she chicken out? And there's two endings.
Wow.
And 50% of the time, the audience vote to kill her. Yeah. And
Is that because of the style of character she is, or that...
Well, I don't know if some people I think vote for, they just feel it. The mother's got profound out. I don't know if that's has a bearing on it. You never see the mother. You only hear about it through the kids. Maybe some appraise the situation and go, well, these women are going to have nothing. Yeah. And they even say there's lines like the mother would want the money spent on her grandkids rather than her. So it really gets your morality, and what we want to do is put your morality upside down, and so you didn't know what's right, what's wrong. So even if you voted not to do it, you still felt, well, I actually think I made the wrong decision.
But you never find out.
No, what happens is we do the vote, and then the audience have to raise their hands. We don't tell them what the verdict is, and usually it's very close. And then the actors left on stage, the light comes back on. They don't know what the verdict is, so they have to get ready to act whichever way. And then I tell the other actress who's off stage.
Yes.
And then she takes ages to come back on stage, which really ramps the tension up. So everyone's waiting for this moment. And then she comes back on stage. And even then it takes ages before you find out. And then that's it. And then you hear a gasp when it's death. If it's life, they go, oh, okay, good.
Oh, that's boring.
But if it's death, they go, oh, and there's a huge gasp in the audience. And then the audience don't leave afterwards. They hang around for hours.
Oh, well, that's choose your own adventure ramped up to the max, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was trying to show we could do something with theatre that TV can't. You know, you actually participate.
Yeah. So I guess the question on everyone's mind at the moment, because the purpose of our meeting today is to speak about Marooned, the play, and all the associated challenges and stigmas around suicide, especially male suicide. Yeah. That this particular production so beautifully brings to life. I saw it last year as Suicide Row with my daughter Rose and a bunch of people from the Australian Men's Health Forum, of which I sit on the board of, and we were blown away by just the beauty of bringing this to life. And we saw it very much as a suicide prevention vehicle, whereas we see the political correctness around even using the word suicide or methods and things like that quite often is distorted and confused around that it's going to assist people more or drive people more to suicide. So I'm going to give the show to you now, Michael, to explain and illustrate so beautifully in your storytelling way the trajectory of Marooned.
Okay. The story it's a very simple premise. Suicide is very hard to talk about, and waiting rooms. If you're in a waiting room with strangers, there are rules to a waiting room that we all know. If someone's losing it, basically the rest of the people shut up. That's it. Just don't look at them. And so here you've got. And I'll start from the character 1620. Now, I only
Could you please, and I wouldn't mind just backtracking to the original, I guess.
Where they got the idea from?
Yes, with the death of the actor.
I did have the idea in my head for a long time, but I never wanted to go there.
Yes.
I just had the ending and the beginning. And then I'd worked with an actor who was a really good mate of mine, Guy May.
Yes.
And he was a photographer and he was just a great artist. And he called me up one night, and I was on the phone to another friend who just found out he had terminal cancer. This is 2:30 in the morning. And I'm talking to him because he's just like going, I've just bought a house, I've got everything, and I'm going. And then Guy sends me a text saying he's feeling suicidal. And this will sound awful, but because he's an actor, actors can sometimes be a bit more melodramatic. And so I was talking to him briefly, but I had to choose between both friends. And so I chose my friend with the cancer, and I said to Guy, look, Guy, it's like 3 a.m, here's a load of numbers to call. Just, call these numbers, man, talk to them. And it was just an extraordinary, bleak morning. And then about 4 or 5 days later, I saw the news that he'd done it. And I was just gutted. And then about 6 months later, I lost my other friend. And so after Guy did it, I had a lot of guilt, and I still have it. And I could see the whole play in my head. Because I had this other play that was going well, this artistic director, this woman, brought me into her theatre, excuse me, to see what else I had, what other plays. They may want to produce one. And my producer was hoping I'd tell them about these comedies I had. But instead I started pitching this play. And within 30 seconds or more, she shut me down and she said, you don't write plays for men. Men don't care, only women buy tickets. So I got a little angry, which means I'm banned from that theatre. And I went home and I wrote it in 2 days. And then I showed my partner. I said, look, I've got this. And she was like, suicide, are you kidding? Do you know how hard that will be to put on? But she read it and she just went, wow, we are putting this on. It's beautiful. And then it's just been going like that. Other actors came along and they just went, we're putting this on. And it's been going, the theatre, we put it on in the theatre, we couldn't get any marketing, any funding. A few people turned up. At the end of 2 weeks, it was full. And it was just like they could hear men's voices, they could see the beauty of men, because it was all men then. And we were doing things everyone since couldn't be done. Then Sale bought it. We went to Sale. We put it on again. Then The Age and Life Matters did a documentary on it. The Age did a huge spread on us. And now the MTC has offered us the Lawler for free, rent-free.
That's the Melbourne Theatre Company.
The Melbourne Theatre Company
for anyone that doesn't
gave us the South Bank. So they're in the South Bank Theatre. They've got this small 160-seater Lawler Theatre. But even they said, look, it's about men, it's about suicide. You're not going to get many people coming. And so that's what they said. It's male issues. The men won't turn up. So we've been busting a gut trying to figure out a way to tell men this is a play on akin with like Falling Down or something like that. This really resonates with men. You'll love it. And so that's what we're trying to do now. But now it's, as you know, it's going on from there. The country towns and the Australian Defence Force have bought it.
Yes.
It's just going from strength to strength to strength. And it's all about people either watching it or reading the script.
That's right. And, we've discussed a lot online about, I know how much effort you and Rohana put into, media, social media, advertising, and people are so on board with it. But, I was describing to you before, just even promoting the show today with you, we've had almost 10,000 hits.
I know, that's extraordinary.
Which is amazing. However, it doesn't convert.
No.
Because people are interested and people are on board, but that feeling of not wanting to be seen or heard to endorse such a thing as male suicide still is very, very taboo.
Yeah.
And that's the shift. That's the generational shift, I think, that we need to be addressing. It's we can preach to the converted. I work in the space all the time. There are lots and lots of people who absolutely will go out and advocate for men's issues, men's health, but the non-converted are the people that we need to be showing, not telling. And you've created this beautiful landscape, this beautiful tapestry of showing rather than telling.
Yeah, there's no preaching. The best story there was there was a lawyer who came to one of the last seasons, and I met him in the foyer because I'm still always trying to peddling my stuff because I'm a hustler.
Because they're not challenged, are they?
And yeah, and he didn't want to know me.
Yes.
But afterwards, I saw him when he was with the audience, and he was wiping the tears out of his eyes, and he just came up to me and just was so warm, and he said, "How do we get this to Shepparton, mate? That's just beautiful."
Yeah.
And so we're converting this way. And they're getting stunned because the play manages to do something that no one could conceive could happen.
No.
It makes it entertaining. We've got people coming back for the 4th season.
Yes.
See it a 4th time. And because it's not just suicide, it's the why they are there. And these people have to pull it out of each other. And it just makes for this moving. It's quite funny.
But it's about suicide prevention, and I'm not going to drive that home enough. In fact, I was getting ready to come here this morning, and I was speaking to a friend on text, and I don't know him very well, but he said, "Oh, you're going on air today?" I said, "Yeah," and I sent him a link to what we were speaking about, and then all of a sudden, he said to me, and I'm going to read it out because I think it's really powerful. He said, "Wow, thank you. I lost my close mate, Peter Chaucer, to suicide, and his young kids still miss him deeply every day. I recently went to see his son play footy as a representative of his dad's friendship group. He was such a kind, gentle man. I have been there too, and I never want to be there again. I spend a lot of personal time supporting people where I was once, and it's now an issue very close to my heart. I can't tell you what it means to have a smart, passionate female intelligent leader like yourself." That's me. "Working in this field. Thank you. Go get 'em." Now, these are all private conversations that are still happening.
Yeah.
These aren't public things that we still talk about them in secret. Like, it's taboo when we have these little events where it's all kind of, these tiny celebrations of life after the event. But then I had another person contact me over the night to say that her nephew has killed himself 6 weeks ago, and she said there were signs and symptoms in retrospect.
Yeah.
So what
I
are we
totally
doing?
agree.
What are we doing?
I know that's what I'm saying. So, like, even when I was just in the foyer, there was a man sitting there about my
Here
age.
at 3WBC.
3WBC.
94.1 FM.
And so you've got so I pitch, and when they go, I've got to play about suicide prevention, you see their shields go up like, okay, this is awkward. And then he goes, so it's about men, and he looks a bit, well, how do you mean? And then I'm just telling him about the play, and then I said this thing about, the main character 1620, because we only know their statistics.
Yes.
He says this line, which I think is causing this men's march coming up, where he goes, "I'm a father, mate, and in this era, as a father, you've got no say. You're just a money-earning spectator with 2 options: stay and be the problem, or leave and be the shit." And sorry, I shouldn't swear, but that's what he says. And that's in context in the police. That's how he feels. That's where he's got to come back from.
Yes.
But he just goes, "Been there."
Yes.
And this is what we're actually talking, not that we're trying to push males' rights, but this is a real issue. It's shame.
Yes.
And these men are feeling disempowered. And this is what 1620 is. He's a symbol of this disempowerment. And he feels he's got no voice, no say.
But mostly no purpose.
No purpose.
No purpose. You lose your kids, whether you're a female or a male or a mum or a dad, you lose your kids and there's your purpose gone.
Yeah.
And we still underestimate and still support male disposability, especially around parenting.
Yeah.
That men are disposable as parents and they're not.
Yeah, and that's taken for granted. And so he's lost his job, even though hasn't taken a sickie in 3 years. Obviously, he's been desperate to hold on to it because he's got all the mortgage and stuff and everything.
And
he's
legal
got to pay.
fees.
Legal fees. Then he gets locked out of the family home, and then he goes into a shed, and he says, "I'm out of here." His man cave, which is his last place on earth, and then the next minute he's in this room.
Yeah.
And he's turned up in this room for failed suicides, and he's marooned in this room with these 3 strangers. And then he starts the slow journey where he's absolutely desperate to get back to his kids, and he'll do anything. And that's really the driving force of the movie is what he does to get back to his family.
But that's the great message, is that anyone who might be in a situation where they feel that there aren't any more choices, that this movie helps you get that time and space to have those considerations, that there are, there are reasons for living as well. Certainly it endorses there's reasons for dying that are very valid, but when we balance them out, it gives us that time and space to have that intervention of our communities and our loved ones that can better support.
Yeah, and it even does, like a director in Sydney, he said what it also allows you to do is the actor can go on the journey you can't. So the actor goes on this journey, he takes the step you're thinking of taking, and you see the nightmare. Because I used to have these nightmares all the time where I could hear my kids and my wife and my kids, but I couldn't reach them. I was on these like crisscross roads and no road actually got back to them. I was close, but I couldn't reach it. And I was often feeling, I wonder what it'd be like. You can hear them, you can feel them, even if they're wanting you, and you just can't reach it because you're taking this decision. So that was what it was trying to do. It's saying if you can get through this bleak period, you don't know. You've just got to hold on. And if you don't, then 1620 shows you how horrible it could be. There could be worse than what the reason you're leaving now. If you were in his situation, it could be even worse, horrific.
Now, there was something you just touched on there before we go to a break, and that's about, the actors that are performing in Marooned / Suicide Row. Now, as you know, I work for a not-for-profit charity which is Entertainment Assist, and we look after the mental health of people working in the entertainment industry. And one thing that I focus on in a lot of my work is vicarious trauma. And we find often actors who are immersed in these roles that can be quite disturbing for, long periods of time, especially if it's a stage production, can really get quite affected by the character that they're wearing. How do you look after the people in your production?
There's a lot of hugging. We've got a big guy in there, 379, Chris. He's huge. Yeah. And he's a hugger. And so there's a lot of humour before. And we're bringing in new techniques because it's getting serious now.
Yes.
Our youngest actor is bringing in techniques of how to warm us up into it and warm us away out of it. The other beautiful thing is because the audience generally don't leave. They want to meet. They want to talk. When the actors come out, they're often swamped with people coming up thanking them, and it's quite a humbling thing. It's like,
and they want them straight away as well. It's like that transition from the stage to the foyer.
Yeah, especially men. That's what we're saying. The really interesting thing is the men come up to the actors, they're double handshakes, hugs, and saying, "Man, that was fantastic."
The double handshake.
And so they actually feel they're a part of something good, and so we bring that up from there. Yeah.
No, it's an important thing to think about, because I guess the entertainment industry, surprise, surprise, you're not earning $1 million bringing this to life. So where do we find money to better support the mental health of our workers? And the short answer is that there's none.
Yeah.
So what things can we be doing?
Well, the interesting thing now is as these with the Army or the Defence Force and these country towns and stuff, we're actually now able to pay the actors like proper union rates and everything. Like at the moment, we're still co-op.
Yep.
But we're heading somewhere where this could actually pay off, but that's a real thing is watching the actors, because they've got other things outside their lives. They've got a lot of stuff going outside their life, then they have to come and do a play.
Well, that's right, because they have to have a plan A and 10 other plan A's to keep themselves in food and juju beans, really.
But we have, up to now, apart from a few little egotistical issues, it's been joyous working on it. And I think it's because everyone feels this is something really special. They really, there's a purpose to it. That we're putting on something special, and that's what fires them all up, and they get right in there, and it's amazing. Yeah.
You've got a lot of supporters out there. Well, not nearly enough, but people who aren't just sitting, I guess, in the stalls just waiting for something to happen, but people getting out there and doing things. And when we go to the break, I'm going to get a guy called James Welsh on the phone who's managed to get the community of Corowa on board, and he's going to be hosting the play there at the Corowa Community Hall.
And he's organising the men's march in the town.
And the men's march, that's right. Yeah. There's somebody doing something, and I know he's not without his challenges, but I'll let him tell a bit more of the story when we get him on the line. But until then, we have a bit of a song coming up, and this song was written especially for the ending.
Yeah, we were using Tom Waits in the smaller theatre, but now we're in a big professional theatre.
What song was that?
Old 55, which
Right.
is we're a big fan. I'm a big fan of Tom Waits.
Yeah.
But we needed our own song. I wanted something that starts melancholic
Yes.
and then lifts the audience up to help the transition back to. And so I wrote this, and Simon Walters and now Hugo Race have helped realise it. So this is the latest cover version, the
And
latest demo version.
If you're going to introduce it properly, Michael, you might tell us what it's called. And
Oh, it's called Drifting Through My Generation. So we wanted something that talked. I wanted something that talked about how lost a lot of people feel in our generation. So it starts there, but it's not too heavy. So that was the.
Well, here it is. Don't go away. You are listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC, and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Tomorrow's yesterday. I cannot tell a lie, but I would if I could tell the truth. I ordered what I thought I was looking for, but all I got was junk emailed back. They said we don't sell sails and we don't sell oars, and a factory fire burnt all of our maps. That's why I'm a-drifting through my generation. My GPS said who the hell knows. I'm drifting through my generation. I'm gonna see where nowhere goes. Last night I found my true love. I had it delivered to my door. I asked, will you stay with me through thick and thin? They said, we don't guarantee guarantees anymore. We're drifting through our generation. Our GPS says who the hell knows. We're drifting through our generation. We're gonna see where nowhere goes. Soul, you're the light in the dark of my days. I'm gonna steer myself up to the beam of you. I just hope that you still know the way, 'cause we're drifting through our generation. If I slow down for you, will you slow down for me? We're drifting through my generation. So how about we see if love knows which way to go?
Oh, welcome back. The time is just 5 minutes past 11 and you're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC with Rae Bonney, joined by prolific playwright Michael Gray Griffith, who literally stages contemporary Australia by mirroring troubled and confused myths and political correctness, searching for its identity and meaning. Love the song, by the way.
Thank you,
Michael. That's just really cool. I think the commercial people should pick that up as well. Now, during the break, we did get the amazing James Walsh on the line, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear him through your headphones,
Not yet.
Michael. So without further ado, all the way from the Corowa and District Car Club 2019 Car and Bike Show and Shine. It's a family-friendly event, by the way, with face painting, jumping castles, food stalls, raffles and 35 trophies. Good morning, James. Are you running the face painting or the jumping castle event?
Oh, look, I've had my face painted. Good morning to you both there. And I'm looking pretty special. pretty special.
You are. Now, I don't think Michael's going to be able to hear you, so I might have to take this. We've got a little bit of a technical issue in the studio around headphones, so you're happy to sit with me for a little while?
I'm happy to talk to you all day long if necessary.
Well, we do only have till midday, James, but you've managed to bring Marooned and the topic of suicide to the attention of the Corowa community and trumped up a whole lot of support.
I have just been absolutely blown away by the amount of support. I decided that we've got to bring Michael's play to Corowa.
Yes.
I think Corowa needs it, and I think it's just so timely to bring it here right now in this current climate.
Well, it's no great secret that the north of Victoria experiences greater levels of suicide in males than many.
We certainly do, and in particular, this area has been gripped fairly badly. Hopefully, we get a good farm season, and our farmers will cope much better this time. But I've got to go back to the show here. We've got a set up, we've got our banners, we've got our signs up there. There's probably about a couple of thousand people here. They're coming up, they're engaging, they're speaking to us, they're going, what's this, what's happening here? Asking wonderful questions, getting great stories.
Is it as open as it should be though, James, do you think?
Well, I tell you, some people have been just a little bit overwhelmed when they've started to talk and we're listening. And one fellow there, grabbed me and gave me a huge, big hug. It was an amazing moment.
Yeah.
Quite an amazing moment.
Now, with Michael Gray Griffith, he's not only an amazing writer, but he's also very technical savvy. So he's managed to hook up his mobile phone and some makeshift headphones so he can actually speak to you and hear you. So say hello to each other.
Hi, James. I'm actually on a delay, so I'm about a minute behind you.
Good morning, Captain.
There you go. Where there's a will, there's a way. But James, also, you and I spent a lot of time on the phone last night speaking about our favourite subject being men's issues and suicide prevention. And you've managed to get not only the Corowa Community Hall to donate the space to host this event, but also Corowa RSL are going to sponsor.
This is an amazing thing. How good's the Shire Council? They've given us the Memorial Hall free of charge.
Wow.
And I think that's just...
And it's a bloody beautiful hall as well. I checked it out on the internet and it's quite fancy.
Hi, James. I can hear you now. I have to say I'm so humbled by being in that hall. It really is amazing.
I can't thank the Shire Council enough for getting behind this. And only just the other day, the Corowa RSL, it's a big RSL, it's a fantastic place. They've said to us, look, we've got to get on this. We want to, what do you need? What can we do to help? And it's gee whiz, I tell you what, that kind of support just makes this grow, and we're going to get bigger here. I'm watching the people that are coming up. I'm standing back now, and we've got Peter Finlay over manning the stand there. People are they're taking notice. They're taking photos of our banners.
What do the banners say, James?
It's the banner for the play, Marooned, a suicide prevention play. And that's in bold red there.
Who had those produced for you? Did you do those, Michael?
No, that's all them.
No, I had them done. Oh, I've forgotten to mention another sponsor.
Oh, off you go. Give him a plug.
Sheldon Signs did these at a great rate for us. He looked after us in respect to that, and he's going to do some more as we get some more produced with the sponsors' names across them. We'll get that done. There's another counselling firm, Brad Plum's Your Way Counselling, has come on board as a sponsor. We're going to make this work, and talking to some of the prominent members of the community, there's the Deputy Mayor here, he's come up and had a chat to me about this.
That just poses a question straight away. Why not the actual mayor? Why only the deputy?
I think... Well, that's right. I shall try and dig him out. I don't know why the actual mayor's not here. I'll report back.
Yeah, please do that. Otherwise, I'll get onto that for you. But one question I have, James, before I hand you back to Michael, is that you've made this community engagement, which is really, really effective. How can other people who are tuning in to the show today replicate this within their own communities, do you think?
Well, I think they can do just the same as I did. I mean, I spoke to Michael. He's so approachable.
Is he?
He didn't pay me to say that, by the way. He's just so approachable. And I think it can be done. Look, what else happened here? So many things. I'm just so excited about what's going on at the moment. A group that have run a care van charity over in Albury came over on their motorcycles to have a look at our show here. And she's come up to me and she goes, "Oh, I saw this thing on Facebook. Wow, what are we doing?" They work for the healthcare system over in Wodonga in Victoria, which is not far away. So we're going to get together and do some things there. She said, "Oh, look, lots of us are going to come over and see this play." Pretty wrapped in what's happening.
It's amazing.
Is there a gender kind of split on popularity for the show, James, in your area?
I don't think so. It's been, I'd say it's very even for what's happening for the inquiry that we're getting.
What would you say about that, Michael, in the response that you get? I mean, from where I see, men and women alike, there isn't really that much of a gender split. It's mainly, because women, guess what, have sons, fathers,
That's
husbands.
the correct thing, yeah.
And they're more likely to be engaged because of the not knowing what to do factor.
Yeah.
Is that we're all just getting more engaged.
Well, everyone was saying, when we had 4 men, they said, "Oh, you're not accommodating women." But the women were just loving the show. The women were coming up going, "This is fantastic." We have got a woman in now, and there were reasons for that I can tell you about later. But I have a huge support from women like yourself and other women out there. They lose fathers, they lose sons, brothers, friends. And it's awful what's going on. The numbers are stunning, shocking.
But it's not until something happens that, I guess, that we all sit up and say, well, I didn't realise that would happen to me and I didn't realise it was really an issue because guess what? There's the chicken and the egg. We're not confronting the issue and helping minimise the risk of these things happening. It's not about solving everyone's problems, but minimising risk means that we are looking at stuff like this, and people like James are out in their community speaking confidently about the issue.
Yeah, there's the women that run the Hayden Butler Foundation that we've aligned with, a charity. The 2 Maori women, one of them lost their sons. And we went down to Bunnings where they had a sausage sizzle, and there's Marooned everywhere.
Really?
And they're selling the Marooned there.
There you go, peeps. There's another avenue. Get
and
your
they want to come on
out.
board because they're about solutions and educating people how to look for warning signs. So if we're around, they want to be there at the end of the show. So people want to talk, there they are. You want to talk, we'll show you how to look for warning signs in your sons and your husbands and your fathers.
James, there must be a sausage sizzle out there today in Corowa somewhere.
There is at our Corowa and District Car Show. I haven't had one yet. I haven't had one yet because we've had so many people at the stand that we're talking to.
That's incredible, James.
I can do without the food for a while because, look, I've had some, I'd call them breakthrough conversations with people this morning.
Wow.
And you can see them, they look a bit down, they're looking at the signs, and then we'll talk, and we might talk about anything, but, it's so great to have that interest, and then someone else from a position in the community here says, well, listen, we should get behind this, we should do this. We can't sit around and wait for government departments to go changing things and organising that. We've got to realise that this change starts with us. And it starts with that conversation. And it starts with the conversation that this play, it just brings out, I mean, the way Michael's had the characters interact with one another, it's just, when you walk through that and see how they speak to one another, in the language that they're using. It just promotes that conversation. And I've seen that
But
happen
it
here.
normalises as well, in my experience. They're really just normal conversations. It's not,
That's right.
painted into anything so dramatic. And I think suicide is often viewed as very dramatic. And, people really acting out, whereas, I think the conversations are great. But, James, thank you for the work.
Oh, before you
that
go,
you're
James,
doing.
can we plug the march?
Oh, we should. We should, Michael. We should.
James was the one that called me up one day. He goes, "I've got an idea."
You speak straight into your
Oh, sorry.
microphone.
He called me up one night. He says, "I've got an idea," and he's got lots of ideas. He's great. And now we got the Melbourne Marooned March
That's going to be in Melbourne?
on the 21st. Yeah, James has been
No,
organising.
you're not
that.
a detailed person, I've noted, Michael. The 21st of what? The 21st
Yeah,
of
no,
anything?
I'm not. That's the 21st of September, 12 o'clock. We're asking people, men and women,
Yep.
to come and meet at Federation Square and then walk down to the Lawler Theatre. And I think
That's next week.
yeah, I know. I don't know if anyone's going to turn up, but but James is being onto it. So I've supplied some of the photographs and stuff, and that's about it. You still there, James?
Yeah, still here.
He's just going to sleep bored. So you're going to be in Melbourne, James, on the 12th? Thursday the 12th?
No. I'll be there for the opening on the 18th.
All right, but not for the march.
Yeah, I'll be there for the march on the 21st.
The 21st, sorry.
21st, sorry.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
21st. I'll be leading that from Federation Square, and I've asked this, everyone from some of the help groups I know, or all of them actually, to come together in a show of solidarity so that we can shine a bigger light on this.
Yeah, well, we had
hope we
is it similar to the march that we had last year?
I think there will be similar aspects to that, and probably some of the same
So
crowd.
before we let you go, because we have to wrap up, but just give our audience a little snapshot of what to expect if they come to the march on the 21st. Is that Federation Square? What time?
We're meeting at 12 o'clock Federation Square on the 21st.
Have we got
These are
speakers?
details.
Are we? What are we
We
doing?
do have a couple of surprises there. I'm not going to let them out of the bag right now, Ray. Nice try.
What, police on horseback with riot shields? Will that be the surprise this year?
Well, it may well be. Look, I did have to contact the Victorian Police Department and get permission for us to do that. They were very kind to grant me an authority to do that. They just did get back to me the other day and they said, look, the Lawler, what's that seat? About 150. What are you going to do with the other 5,000 attending the march? Something to bear in mind. But, gee, if we got 5,000 people there, wow, how exciting would that be?
Well, I think last year with the Sydney Watson effort, there was quite a few people there, but I think there were more protesters, which is really unfortunate because I think the protesters really didn't understand what they were protesting about. And, when we're speaking about men's issues, about their willies and their bums and, their mental health, it's not all that dangerous, really.
No, I was there at that march too. I turned up.
I saw you. I tried to speak to you, but you just blindsided me.
Well, the interesting thing about the march now, there's two camps in suicide prevention that I notice. There's the ones that want to use safe words and keep everything medical and clinical in the government. And then there's this rising group, and James is a big part of that, and I am too, really. I didn't realise, but I just am, that no, it's time to talk. And I think the march is, because the government is trying to edit this play and sanitise it, and I'm refusing to do that. And the support behind it is no. It's time to talk about it, and it's
what Michael's saying to the audience is that we have definite messaging and language around how we speak about suicide in the media and elsewhere, and because Marooned or Suicide Row does feature some aspects of suicide that could, and I say that in air quotes, be deemed as showing methods of suicide. There's been some contention around that. However, when you look at this production through a very creative lens, it's no different to Romeo and Juliet or any other beautifully produced piece of art that helps people better understand and connect with a difficult topic.
Yeah, that's right. And
Write that down.
Yeah, and it's like I tell James, it's not like an IKEA manual on how to do it or anything.
No.
You know, it's a...
Because you'd never do it if it was an idea.
Yeah, and look, I'm trying to build a theatre company, so it's not in my interest.
Literally,
Yeah, so it's not in my
IKEA.
interest to have all my audience top themselves, you know. So I actually like them to come back and see other plays. So
yes.
And all they do is because they're there and they're wondering why they failed, naturally they've got to try and figure it out. So they talk about what they did, their methods. And that's the only issue, which I find ridiculous. But
well, I guess it's to be respected, but it's also to be challenged.
Yeah.
And it's a space to be challenged. So
yeah.
James, I'm going to say goodbye to we're going to say goodbye to you now, and thank Michael again for finding one button on the panel that I'd never discovered before. It's like, I guess, men finding that magic button in women, isn't it? But everyone got
Thank
that. But he found the button that actually...
You rock, James.
Thank you so much, you two. And
Pleasure.
please, our listeners, check Marooned out on the Facebook pages. Have a look at what we're doing. There's some great photos up there, some great stories. And I'm going to get back to some great people here in Corowa.
Well, give them our love, James.
I will.
Give them a big hug for us and tell them to, tune in to the rest of the program. They can stream live from anywhere around the world if they tune into 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC. See you, James.
Goodbye. Thank
Bye,
you.
James.
Bye. That was James Walsh, a very enthusiastic advocate around men's issues. And, very quietly, James has lived with many issues himself and managed through some extraordinary challenges. And hats off to James, and all the best to him in his endeavours. You're lucky to have him on board.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's fantastic. And I think... he and I will probably be working together to sort of show how to get us to other towns as well.
Well, speaking of which, there's been a great response around the country from others getting behind Marooned. So can you give us a bit of a rundown? I know there's Noel Thomas in...
Yeah, Noel Thomas, a man called
Yarrawonga.
Noel Thomas, contacted us through the Facebook, and he said, how do I bring it to Yarrawonga? And we talked about it, and he's doing it. And because, see, I knew the play... I wanted the play to be simple, that it could be set up in church halls. So you don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to put it on. And that's what they're doing. They're getting a hall, they're putting it on in the hall.
Do we have dates for Yarrawonga?
The 1st and 2nd of November is what he's looking at. I still think it's not verified yet. And what happens with the play is, so we open the people up, because afterwards people are open, they really want to talk, and that the town there can have a Q&A, or they can have advocates there like yourself, counsellors, and we just get all these people talking about suicide, which I think is really healthy. Suddenly everyone's talking about it. What can we do? Who knows what could come of that? So we're an icebreaker. We get in there, we open you up, let's chat.
But I think it's also the idea around having different conversations, because I think at the moment we're still, it's always after the fact.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
And I'm a very big fan of not talking about lived experience, because, well, lived experience, there's great stories within lived experience, but it's not the solution.
No.
Telling the story in the aftermath is not the solution.
No.
So I think we need to probably balance things out a little bit, and I think that's what the show does. It gives these opportunities for people to provide better intervention.
Yeah. Well, every person in that play has a real reason to do it. In their, it makes sense that they did what they did. In the room, they all realise, yes, I had a real reason to do what I did, but now I'm seeing with time that maybe there's ways around it.
Yes.
It's just time.
Yes.
Is what they have, and that's what the play puts. And so we go I have this theory when I wrote it, that if you want to get a splinter out, you have to go digging with a needle.
And it hurts.
You can put 100 Band-Aids on, but unless you go digging, you're not going to get it out. And that's what the play does. It goes digging for, why do these 4 people commit suicide?
You get straight into your microphone there, Michael.
I'm going.
You've got a beautiful radio voice.
And so why do they do it? And is there other solutions to it? And that's why people call it inspiring. They see, wow, they get past it, and it lifts them up, and they think, wow, they got past that. And there's this beautiful line in there. My favourite line is when They're trying to figure out what they got to do there, and one of them says, "We don't have to save each other. We don't have to save ourselves. We have to save each other." Now they don't all believe it, but that becomes there's no government there. There's no counsellors. These four people, the only way they're getting out of there is to help each other, to come together,
have each other's back.
And I think when it comes to suicide, we know we've got the government. That's great. All the mental health advocates. That's great. But as a community, we've got to come together and tackle this ourselves because the loss is tremendous.
Oh, absolutely. And I read an article this morning on news.com, and it was produced for Men's Health Week in June this year, and I hadn't seen it, but it was entitled it wasn't, Meet the Men Who Kill Themselves, basically. So
Wow.
it broke it down into demographics like the FIFO workers, meet a FIFO worker, and it talked about their particular challenges and challenges of a father and a challenge of a 15-year-old boy. And it really painted this bloody good illustration of what it might feel like being them and their particular challenges. And I thought I'm gonna wait for that. I'm gonna repost that probably during International Men's Week that's coming up in November. But you know, they're ways of looking. They're different lenses that we're using to see how we can reduce the risk.
Yeah, because it's complex. It's a hugely complex
and
issue.
It's not a gender issue. It's not a gender war. It's not excluding women out of the conversation. It's just recognising the magnitude of male suicide is horrendous.
Yeah, it is.
And not just suicide. You know, we were talking before, 95% of military deaths are men. 95% of workplace deaths are men.
Yeah.
Car fatalities, men.
That's right.
You know, over and over and over. And these men are leaving women, they're leaving daughters, they're leaving grandmothers.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's affecting women and it's affecting children. So we ought to do something about it. Get off my soapbox.
They talk about stigma, but the real stigma is why we have built a community where so many people want to leave it.
Yes.
And that's what we have to address.
But do we want to leave it? And the answer is maybe not, but
No.
there are no choices. And that's why getting better resources, better pathways to help that are men-centric could, again, minimise the risk. But no, thank you for sharing all of that. Can you just let me know also, I know you got Noel Thomas in Yarrawonga, but you've got some other great backers in Gladstone, Rio Tinto.
No, we've got Simon McEwen is on the board of Rio Tinto.
Right.
And he's put money behind it, and he was Australian of the Year in 2011. He lets us use his face to try and get more backers.
Yes.
And he really loves the show. In Gladstone, I have a new friend, a very good new friend called Alex Gardner. He's trying to do what James is doing and getting the play there in June. So I had an interview on the radio. I was going to go on the John Fane Conversation Hour, and just the night before, this little guy in Frankston called me up and said, "Oh, can you bring it down to Frankston? I can't afford MTC rates."
Is that Jody?
No, this is a guy, just some old pensioner. And I said, "Yeah, I can." And on the radio, I said, "Well, look, we're going to try and bring it down to Frankston." And as soon as I got off the radio, I was swamped with calls from all over Australia. How to get it to Ballarat, how to get it to Bendigo, how to get it to Port Fairy, how to get it to Perth. And that's what's happening. It's just all of Australia is going, we want the play. And so we're trying to figure out a mechanism of how to do that. So we say, well, that's our cost. That's what you've got to pay for here. You just got to put us up somewhere. And let's bring it up and do 2 shows, because the first show is for the braver ones.
Yes.
And then they go out and go, it's okay. It's okay.
No one died.
And so no one died. The second day, they'll probably fill up.
Yeah.
And then you can either make it like a free event in a hall, or cheap tickets, or however it's figured out, you know. So it's not going to cost you much to cover our costs. And then the rest you just put it on a hall, and we just have these 2 nights of just tackling the problem head on and seeing what happens.
Or just enjoying a beautiful piece of art as well.
Yeah, and going into these halls is so exciting.
But just because it's about suicide doesn't mean it's not fun. I laughed a few times.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's
in fact,
good.
it's remarkably funny. The big guy who... the alpha male, I mean, in our times now, he's almost like an outlawed human being, but he just says it like it is. And man, you see I'm not supposed to say, but you see the feminists who would hate him in normal life, giggling.
Yes.
Everyone loves him.
Oh, he's a lovable character, as
he
many
is.
people are very lovable.
Yeah, and even though he comes across a bit abrasive, you can see that he's got a real heart and he cares and he's just a big guy.
Yes.
You know?
But that's, part of the stereotype that we're trying to challenge. And my friend Jeremy McVean and his movement, The Fatherhood, are very challenging this, buffoon stereotype that men and dads have. Men are just, they're just lovable larrikins and they don't have a brain or an original thought. And I think we've got to be getting away from that as well, because it's very shameful for men to think that they don't have a level of intellect to take to the world.
Well, that's right. And he's actually quite well read. He keeps surprising them.
I spoke to him after the event and he's a very smart man.
Yeah, but even in the play, like he comes across, he's a tradie.
Yeah.
But I know the woman's quite a professional. And she mentions like a poem by D.H. Lawrence and the young guy goes, who's D.H. Lawrence?
Yeah.
And the big guy's like, he's a writer.
Yeah.
So the big guy's far more well read than people know. But he's... I like him because he's so refreshing to hear. And that's what a lot of guys who come along going, I can't remember when we saw someone like him on stage,
So anyone that's interested in either participating by way of getting your community involved in staging this amazing play, get on Facebook, just type in Marooned the play, and they post probably every 5 seconds of the day something.
Yeah, well, we don't have a marketing budget, so we just annoy people.
Well, it's not annoying. It's professionally produced and it's really great. So get on there, have a look, see what you can do. We've just illustrated now it's not that difficult to get your community involved.
Start a conversation with us.
If you're handy with the tools, build a stage.
Yeah, we can do theatre in the round. We can do
Yeah.
It's very, very easy to say. We don't even have a set because we can use. It's a waiting room, so it's just chairs, but we can use the chairs you have in the hall.
Yeah.
We just bring the lights.
Well, I just went to see the production Come From Away, which was one about September 11 and the planes that get grounded in that tiny town in Canada. And that whole stage was just 10 seats.
That's right.
Amazing. Go and see it, people. Well, after you've seen Marooned, go and see that. But we are going to go to a break now so we can come back and wrap up the show and have a little chat about the other projects as well, because whilst you're immersed in Marooned, and it's all great, that's not only what you're about. And I have found a little musical score from Magpie, which is the musical that you're in the process of bringing to the world.
Yeah, next year,
as
hopefully,
well.
Yep.
I think you're looking to engage with I was going to say staff, but what do you cast?
Yeah,
people for auditions. When are you auditioning?
Well, we've already sort of looking now. It's sort of open auditions, and we're just generating interest now. You can find it on our website, the Wolves Theatre Company.
You were going to say the website.
The website, yeah.
Find it on the website.
So you can check it out there. And we're just slowly building this big story together.
Yeah.
But it's I actually wrote the songs while I used to be a tram driver, and I had the record for going the wrong way because I was so concentrating on the songs. I'd forget what route I was, and I'd take hundreds of passengers the wrong way.
But you're on tram tracks. How do you go the wrong way?
You got to set the points. But I did it. In about 2 years, I did it about 30 times. They caught me 18 times officially, but I sort of got the world record for it.
Oh, good on you. And that's why you don't have a job with Yarra Trams any
Yeah,
longer.
they decided it's probably best that
you stick to what you do well.
We stick to what I do well, yeah.
Now, this particular piece of music is called Money Is All Anyone Wants.
Yeah, it's about a very rich girl who falls in love with a homeless support worker, and she wants help from him, and so he goes, why would she need help? She's got all this money, and this man sings this song to him, suggesting that even though she's got all this money, maybe it's not as good as what you think.
It's not. Yeah, it's not all what it's trumped up to be.
Yeah, it's like a gilded cage.
Well, don't go away. You're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC, and we'll be back with you shortly. Oh, welcome back. The time is about 37 minutes past 11 and you're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC with Rae Bonney, joined by one of Australia's freshest, bravest and compelling theatrical voices, who brings us the powerful, funny and remarkably uplifting play Marooned. It's inspired by the death of creative artist Guy May, and Michael brings this beautiful experience that illustrates a journey of 3 Australian men and 1 woman who find themselves stuck on the way to the afterlife after their individual attempts at suicide have failed. If you want to go, get on the bloody internet now. This is what Michael said to me in the break. We need bums on seats. We need to get this thing going. We've got a lot of interest. So dial it up, Marooned. Click on buy tickets, buy 10.
Well, there's that. You go to the MTC if you do Marooned, but I was going to. We have this code. If you go to the MTC website, so it's MTC Marooned, and then you put in the code HOPE 2019, that reduces the price of the ticket. But I want to get men there. I mean, I love anyone coming, but I want to get men there. And men are notoriously known for not coming to theatre. It's just something they never do.
That's because they're too bloody busy working. That's what they're doing.
So I'll make you a deal. I'll be there every single night. And just because I think theatre needs to evolve, and it's our job to try and get you there. You've heard the play's good, but I'll be there every night. If you don't like it, I'll have the money there. I'll give you your money back for the ticket that night. But if you like it, then you got to take a selfie with me and do a review there at the theatre and stick it on your Facebook or your social media and help me get more people there. So this is about getting us talking about saving lives, and it's working. So that's it. I'll be there every night. I swear to God, I'll just give me your bank account details. I'll fling the money through.
Or just have one of those
happen.
Cash machines where you can sit.
That's right. That's right. But honestly, if you're thinking, nah, that's a load of crap, you just tell me. But otherwise, you do the selfie, you get it up there, and you help us take this play everywhere. Yep. That's what I need.
And you're not going to kill anyone by doing it. Trust me.
That's it. That's it.
Now, there are a few shout outs that I wanted to give at the end of the show, and most recently, before I went on my little adventure overseas, we hosted our White Alpha Men's Health event at Marvel Stadium, and we're very fortunate to get 350 people there because we're talking about prostate cancer and suicide, of course. But I just wanted to give a shout out to thank everyone who supported us in 2019. This is our 4th year. And our event on the 2nd of August, you've helped us further promote the importance of men's health awareness and raise much needed funds for our amazing charity partner, who is the Australian Prostate Cancer Research Centre, who do outstanding shit for men, really. Dignity, pride, preservation of, whilst men go through this horrendous procedure, which often ends them in being alive, but results in things like erectile dysfunction, sexual dysfunction, incontinence, things that are really, really detrimental to pride and dignity. So thank you to them. And they also invest in their head coach program, which is something new that we're supporting around doing research within the construction industry, where guess what, a lot of men sit and work very hard and are too tired to go to the theatre
that's right.
afterwards. But we're pleased to announce that our 2019 tally came to just over $70,000, which means
incredible.
that in our 4 years we've raised more, close to $300,000. It's not about the money, but we buy things like hydraulic lifting chairs that help men piss into a trough, things like that really do. Sorry for my language, I'll probably get sacked. But thank you. We've got a lot of great things coming up this year, and of course we support very wholeheartedly events like Marooned, and
thank you very much. It's really
we're very on
appreciated.
board with that. Now, another event which is also in the mental health space, which is a focus on the hospitality industry. Now, Eat the Issue is an initiative started by a very young chef. His name's George Wintle, and he is in his 3rd event and has raised a lot of money and awareness around the mental health within the hospitality industry. And you don't have to be, you'd be living under a rock if you didn't realise the challenges of people working relentlessly in hospitality for very little. George also happens to be my son. And so he's hosting these regular events and bringing together like-minded people to have open discussions about how to work better within the hospitality industry. We've got some really cool guest speakers this year. We've got Nick Stanton. He's Leonardo's Pizza Palace and Roisin Call. She's with Dinner by Heston Blumenthal, Tim Perrin from Oak Ridge Wines, Nina Jones, and I'm actually have the great privilege of emceeing the event this year. Finally relented to get your mum in to a bit of help. But no, I'm very, very proud of George. If anyone knows Black Hearts and Sparrows, they're hosting the event. They're in Melbourne, and Dexter, they're another food establishment in Melbourne. They're coming along to sling some mouth-watering goodness, and all the proceeds go to an organisation called Scarf Community, and they are a social enterprise using hospitality to transform lives. So trainees, resilient young people seeking protection from refugee and migrant backgrounds. So really, really good cause to get great people into the beautiful industry that is hospitality.
Yep, we've all done our time in hospitality.
Hospo keeps the world go around. I want to say thank you also to David C. Chandler. He does produce my show for me, gets it up on YouTube in very glorious fashion. He edits out all of my little faux pas along the way, makes me look better than I actually am. So thank you, David. He's actually a piano technician.
Wow.
By trade, young boy, goes out into the world. He went to school with my daughter Rose. And
so he's a young guy.
He's only 25, 24, 25. And
a piano technician.
Yes, and that's what his chosen profession is.
Wow.
And, so he brings music to the world and helps people enjoy their beautiful instrument.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible. Anyway, moving on. Give us some feedback. If you want to know anything more about Marooned and you didn't pick up that all you have to do is type Marooned the play into Facebook or any social media, contact me at rae.bonney@3wbc.org.au. You can contact me at Presenting Rae Bonney on Facebook. Also, if any of the things we've spoken about today have brought up uncomfortable feelings for anyone, please don't forget Lifeline. You can contact on 131114. Suicide callback service is 1300 659 467, and of course emergency service is 000. If you're really that worried about somebody, that's what they're there for. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get into trouble by phoning 000. That's their job. They'll sort it out. There you go. So we've got 15 minutes left,
yes,
Michael, to do a little bit of a wrap on what it feels like being you today.
It's a strange journey now. I'm because of Magnolia Tree and Marooned, for the past 3 months, I'm actually playwriting is my job. I'm actually surviving on it.
Congratulations.
And I think I might be one of the only very select group in Australia. So that's been quite a strange thing to get to. The funniest thing was I was wanting someone to ask me, and the first person that asked me was my dentist. They had their hands in my mouth. And they said, "What do you do for a living?" I go, "Ha." What was that? I go, "Ha." And so I waited 54 years or 53 years to say that. But
and then you couldn't say it.
Yeah, and it's up and down. It's difficult, but there's challenges. But
what's your major challenge?
Oh, it's always bums on seats, and because there's marketing
my question to you was, what does it feel like being you today? And you sort of frog leaped back into a bit of past stuff. So, talking about what's your major challenge? I'm self-employed. And I work in men's advocacy. So for me, getting up every day, I have a definite purpose. But there are some days where, you might have had a call late at night from a client who's in distress and not feeling as bouncy as normal. So how do you keep yourself motivated every day when you know you've got to make a living out of something unpopular?
Yeah, I know. It's interesting, isn't it? There's sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're a bit fatigued. You lay there going, ugh. But
what keeps you going?
When I'm rehearsing, and I'm watching the actors really envelop themselves in the characters, and we're all struggling to find how can we make this scene the best we can. people like James, people like yourself bring us on here, and these supports coming in through Facebook, and other people bring us to, like Noel and Alex. And when we went to the Defence Force, they're blacking out this entire gym. They're getting on the roof. They're blacking it because we said we need it dark, and they said, well, black it out. So they got all the soldiers and whoever's there, they're just going to make this massive gym.
Which is it a Puckapunyal or?
No, it's St Kilda Barracks.
Oh, right.
And they're going to have all their top brass there, and we have to put the play on in this gym for their top brass at 10 in the morning, and then a little while later we do another show. And they're like, yeah, it's a play, but we're saying, no, the theatre world has never heard of this. In the actors coming in.
Yes.
And we've all got our own security guard because we always have to be escorted. And it's been quite a humbling experience. And so I'm just sort of riding the wave, so to speak. And I did know when I finished it, I felt that there was a journey with the play. The most amazing moment was I had to call Guy's mother, who I didn't know.
Yes.
It was a few weeks after he'd gone. And she answered the phone like you would expect someone who's lost their only child, and she doesn't have a partner, to answer the phone. It was like talking to someone in the back of a cave. And she said, I never answer the phone usually, but she picked it up. And I've got to introduce myself. I've got to tell him I'm a playwright. I've written this play dedicated to her son. I'm not going to put it on unless she gives it its blessing. Simple as that. And she's listening for a while, and she said, okay, send it to me. And it took her 7 days, she said, to pick it up. And then I get this phone call, and she goes, I want you to put this play on. And that's been it since then. Her and I are thick as thieves.
Well, I know that she's very, very present in the space.
Oh, very much present, yeah.
A great supporter. And, you know, I love that piece that you just talked about then. You know, picking up the phone sounds like she's speaking from the back of a cave.
That's how it was.
How it never fails to astound me, the beauty of human beings and our resilience that we just don't recognise. And I, you know, being a parent, you know, we're both parents, you cannot imagine that day that something like that happens.
It's horrifying to think of it.
Yeah, but how people survive it, they do.
They do.
They're
do. All over Australia, they do.
But the generous people like Guy's mother, who dares to go out into the world and share something so intensely painful, is a thank you.
And she does. She gets behind it, and she helps as she can, and she's troubled. You can hear it in her. Sometimes she's good, sometimes she's bad. She's told me she's thought of doing it because what's the point? But then she gets up and she's so tough. It's amazing. And her and I get on famously. It's become like picking up a second mother myself. It's it's really sweet. And you know, we meet those people, you just sort of get on, and it's really, really close. And so that's been really, really special. And I'm excited because I know when we put on the Lawler, we're doing a lot of work in rehearsals. I was shooting there to rehearsals after this. It's seeing whether the same thing happens, because the most incredible thing happened when it was first on. We didn't know how it would go. Yeah. And it finished. The audience, I think you were there that night, the audience sort of clapped, and then for a lot of people didn't move. Some people got up and moved, a lot of people were just sitting there, and I was thinking, why haven't they moved? And so when I came down, they were just like astounded. And one guy, I remember, I thought his face was covered in Vaseline, but it was tears. And they're just getting up and going, hugging us. Yes. And hugging us, saying, you've got to take this play everywhere. And the one guy, there was one big guy, really big, chubby, but really... And he really... I went up to him and said, you okay? And he just hugged me tight and said, that was beautiful. Yeah. You've got to take this play everywhere. And that's what they all say. And that's what's driving us. And we're just sort of putting it out there. And people like James, Alex Gardner, Noel, yourself, other people are coming, yep, we got the banner, you know, and getting back. And now it's a question of trying to keep up with it and how do we organise this. But I literally could see this play with some corporate backing touring Australia. Yes. And really getting a conversation started all over Australia. And I think it's needed.
But the interesting thing is that, a lot of people who go out into commercial enterprise or into self-employment, one of the first things we look at are our competitors. You don't have any.
No, that's right. I haven't thought of that. Yeah, I'm alone there. I'm just lucky. I really do like issues. That's like with the Magnolia Tree. And I just like the challenge of making them entertaining. And I think theatre, when it comes to this, I think theatre is one of the best tools, because you can't have a hall is small, so it's intimate. So you're in the room. You're a part of it. If it's a big theatre where you're 600 seats away, I don't think you'd get the effect. But if you're there, you're small, you're in, you can feel it, you can see it, you can sense it, almost smell it. That it's like the new young guy we've got doing the young guy is so incredible. I said to him, I think we're going to have a few people that might just come out of the audience and walk onto stage and give you a hug during your scene. I would not be surprised. And that's what theatre does. I'm very determined to sort of show people who don't go to theatre. And that happened in Sale. A guy came up to me and said, "Mate, I've never been to a theatre in my life, and that was bloody fantastic. I'm coming to everything you see." And that's I want people to remember how important theatre can be. It's not just this entertainment with these old plays you've seen 10 times.
Like we were saying before, it's part of our education.
Yeah.
It's how we learn, and it's how we
That's
learn
right.
about
This
storytelling.
is an old way, yeah.
How do you tell stories? It's like, Come From Away. How do you tell a story about all of these people, dare I say, marooned in this small town, and this town has to respond, things like nappies. We need babies' bottles. We need all these things that we don't have. We've got a population of 9,000 people that is now just ballooned into 20.
Yeah.
1,000. And how do we account for that? And they just did it because the human condition, we care.
Yeah, they are.
We just care.
Yeah.
And we forget that that's a key attribute that most of us have. Most of us.
Even the comedy in the play, the comedy isn't like set up jokes. The comedy is the thing where we do use humour. I had a friend who lost his son. It was like to an aneurysm just this week, and I was there last night with them. Came home and found him on the floor. It was horrendous, and we were sitting there in the kitchen, and it's very sad. But then we're laughing, but we're not laughing, putting anyone down. It's like a gift from the universe to help us get through, and we're remembering stories and remembering this, and it's mixed in. Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable. But in the room, that's the same sort of humour that it is. It's sort of this banter that goes back and forth. I think humour and the political correctness goes, you can't make fun of that, you can't make fun of that. But the thing is, we can make fun of anything, and I think that's what the gods wanted us to do, to help us cope. And so if you say you can't laugh, you can't this, you can't say that, you can't say that, instead of making everyone safe, you're isolating human beings. And I actually think you're causing the problem to a degree.
Oh, that's right. I mean, we all use humour as an antidote.
Yeah.
Sure. And I know in my own therapy for myself, dealing with this every single day, first thing I do is take the piss out of everything.
There you go. I'm exactly the same.
Between the privacy of my four walls and my children, of course. But,
yeah. That's exactly right.
But, we don't have permission to do that. We don't have permission to laugh even or be happy when we're supposed to be sad. And what you've just told us now about this, this situation with somebody passing away so immediately, and you're laughing in a kitchen a few days later, many would say, "Oh, that's a bit soon, isn't it?"
No, but it's human. You see it in funerals, not all funerals, but a lot of funerals, the people get laughing and they bring up old stories. It's almost a defiance against the truth that's following us. I mean, death's after all of us. But it doesn't kill our ability to love. We still love regardless. We pass the love on.
Unrequited love.
Yeah.
If you were writing about that, you'd be home and hosed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's right. And laughter's the same. It doesn't stop us laughing. We still laugh, right in the face of it. So I think we're amazing at that ability.
Yes. And here's, again, as a final message, I guess, probably the most difficult subject that confronts human beings around the taking of one's own life. Here's an opportunity to make it part of your narrative and to make it part of, the possibility of life, that we can reduce risk, And it isn't a stigma. People don't go out there and punish people through suicide. They don't leave families because they're lazy or stupid or weak. Must be one of the bravest things anyone can do, I think, is to kill themselves.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's... Yeah, look, there. I have to say, if you meet someone who says they've never wanted to do it, I don't understand them, because everyone goes through horrific things where you think, oh, that's enough. It's more than I can take.
Yes.
And but then you wake up the next day and you go, okay. And you start putting it together, and then a few months later you've moved on.
But if we have access to that, so creating your own support networks is really super important. People, make sure you know where to go when things turn to shit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be people, because not all of us are lucky enough to have lots of people or even families in our lives.
True.
But what do you do when it goes to crap? And that is, you might go to the gym, go for a walk, watch Netflix, whatever it is that you do to keep you safe in the moment until you get to the next one. Have a plan.
Yeah.
Phone Lifeline, they're great. And if you don't like the person you're speaking with, hang up. Phone back and you'll get someone else.
Yeah. And my thing is, you'll be dead soon anyway, so why make it happen? Why help him? You can't escape.
I don't laugh about that. Now, before I go, I did want to... next up, I'll be back on the 8th of September, and my guest will be a wonderful man called Craig Burkett, and Craig runs Apprenticeship Central at Holmes Glen TAFE. So Craig looks after, and his team look after, the mental health and well-being of these very vulnerable men, mainly. There are a few women in there as well, but young boys who are embarking on apprenticeships, who are trying to work out the machinations of life. Many of these boys are aged 15, have started careers, and they're working with people who may not manage expectations very well. They have a lot of confrontational issues and challenges. So think of Coach Central, Apprenticeships Central is an amazing initiative that's been commemorated by our government. They've been awarded in their efforts, and I've spoken down there a few times, rocked up at Smoko and, in the workshop, and had a chat with the boys, and they're the very moments that make me incredibly happy and feel valued when you're talking about that. So that's coming up next month.
Congratulations. Sounds great.
Pleasure. Now, coming up next, we've got Paula Hogg. Paula is going to give you the laziest, most divine, indulgent Sunday afternoon. She plays all of her music right off CD. She's very clever. So she's coming up next. So adios, everyone. Take care. Look after each other. And if you don't do anything this afternoon, get on the website, book your tickets to Marooned.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you so much for having me on.
Bye.